Sonic X Shadow Generations features a unique opportunity to bring back many levels and bosses from past Sonic games. Specifically, the Shadow Generations portion features more opportunities to explore Shadow's backstory in greater detail. So here are some potential levels and bosses that really could be added to Shadow's story, and if you love Sonic, subscribe right now. From the trailer, we already know that Sonic Adventure 2 is going to be represented by Speed, Highway, Final Chase, and the Space Colony Arc. Sonic Heroes has Rail Canyon, Shadow 2005 has Westopolis, and Sonic 2006 has Kingdom Valley, all of which are good choices so far. For Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow is only playable in 4 levels, being Radical Highway, Skyrail, White Jungle, and Final Chase. Skyrail is too short of a stage, but perhaps White Jungle could be represented. And Sonic Generations features several side quests, so I feel like White Jungle could be a time trial or side quest of some type. For Sonic Heroes, in addition to Rail Canyon, they should really consider Grand Metropolis because this is an easy stage with some badniks and many gimmicks, as well as they have some really well designed platforms and paths. For a side quest, Sonic Heroes special stages could be useful in collecting Chaos Emeralds or for some type of score multiplier. For Shadow 2005, they should add Prison Island because this has connections to both Sonic Adventure 2 and Shadow 2005. When Dr. Eggman blows up the island, it turns into a radioactive mess, which Chaos Control would fit very well into the level design, and this level plays a very important role in Gerald Robotnik's story because he was imprisoned and eventually executed there after they shut down Project Shadow, as well as the imprisonment of Shadow for 50 years. And they really need to have a side quest in Westopolis or Prison Island or another level where Shadow actually uses his guns to shoot at stuff. For Sonic 2006, we already have Kingdom Valley, but I feel that White Acropolis might be a good additional level to have because it obviously starts with the cutscene of Shadow receiving orders from GUN to find Rouge. Sonic Generations and Shadow Generations does not have any snow levels or mountain theme levels, so this seems like a good level because they do pop up frequently in Sonic games. Shadow is a badass in this level and fires shots from his Jeep. Speaking of firing shots, perhaps a side quest in Radical Train might be fun because Shadow could be firing shots from his motorcycle in a time trial while catching up to the train. And from Sonic Forces, they could take enemy territory, however, I think it's very unlikely they would take anything from Sonic Forces. Moving on to the boss battles, we already know about the Bio-Lizard boss fight from Sonic Adventure 2, and this boss fight looks easy, so it might be the first one that Shadow will face. I feel like a Shadow vs. Mephiles boss fight similar to the one from Sonic 2006 would fit this game just so well. That boss fight was so badass with Shadow's Chaos abilities, it could be one of the best boss fights if done correctly. And when Mephiles stole the Dark Shadow's Chaos Emerald, Shadow removed his inhibitor rings to fight him. So I do think it's a possibility that Shadow might remove his inhibitor rings in the game. In fact, if you look at Shadow's hub world, there's a purple texture, and that texture looks almost the exact same as Mephiles being during the final boss, so that could be a hint. I would also leave the door open to a Shadow vs. Infinite fight, but I would assume that's very unlikely to occur. We also know that Shadow will likely fight Black Doom at some point, so I would assume that that could be the final Super Shadow boss fight, and this could likely be a recreation of the Devil Doom, which is Shadow 2005's final boss. Sonic Generations also features 3 rival bosses against Metal Sonic, Shadow the Hedgehog, and Silver the Hedgehog, so for Shadow Generations I would assume a repeat of the Shadow rival battle, but as you are playing as Shadow versus Sonic could be a good perspective. Perhaps a fight against Neo Metal Sonic similar to Sonic's Generations where he fights against Perfect Chaos, and lastly a Shadow the Hedgehog versus Silver the Hedgehog boss fight similar to the one from Sonic 2006. I would also assume it's likely that Sonic X Shadow Generations' final battle will just shoehorn Super Shadow in with Super Sonic and Super Classic Sonic for the fight against the Time Eater. When you're in Sonic Generations, you will notice that there are several characters that stand next to each of the portals. So for Shadow Generations, I would assume that the 6 new Chao would be for that purposes, but I would assume they could also be for the missions where you have to collect them. So if I had to guess, Maria or Gerald Robotnik could stand in front of the Sonic Adventure 2 portal, Black Doom could stand in front of the Shadow 2005 portal, Sonic or Metal Sonic could stand in front of the Sonic Heroes portal, and Silver the Hedgehog or Mephiles could stand in front of the Sonic 2006 portal, as well as some of the characters might stand next to their respective rival battles or in other side quests. We are for sure getting closer and closer to Sonic X Shadow Generations, and I'm very excited for this game releasing on October 22nd. That's gonna do it for this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and remember, you gotta go fast.